This Reddit story comes from r/mother-in-laws from hell, where OP's mother-in-law falls in love with OP's husband. I am on here because I need to know if this is normal mom behavior and she's just protective or if she genuinely is in love with her son. I have been with my husband for 2 years. We got married 2 weeks ago. My husband joined the army in December 2022. I have always been really close with his mom. She has always felt more like a good friend. Before my husband left for boot camp, she never cared about him. She might be a great friend, but I never felt like she was a good mother to my husband. She would lock up the food in the house and only ever fed his sisters. I would buy him food most of the time and take him to work and buy him clothes too. She would start these massive crazy fights and kick him out and call the cops on us. There's just too much to get into with the way she used to treat him, but my point is she did not care about him. Once he left for boot camp, it was like a switch. All of a sudden that was her baby and she loved him more than life itself. The problems between me and her really started when we got our first family weekend with him. It was a week-long trip. Before we had left, she told my husband she didn't want me going because I would take up all his time away from her. The first day we were there, he proposed to me. The rest of the trip felt like such a nightmare. She was constantly crying the entire time. If me and him tried to get any alone time, she would get upset. We maybe got 3 hours alone the entire week. And I get that she's his mom and I wanted him to see his family as much as possible. But I felt very unwelcome and excluded because of her. She would make nasty comments to me while he wasn't around and was mad at me for dropping him off by myself one night. Anyways, after the trip was over, she ignored me for 2 weeks. Before we saw him, I'd go over to their house at least 3 times a week to talk to her. Finally, she admitted to me she was ignoring me and didn't want to see me because she was jealous of me and felt hate towards me. Because I was taking her son away from her. I was shocked because I was with him for almost 2 years before he had left and she had never treated me this way until now. Well, at our wedding she was inconsolable. She was bawling and crying the whole time and had to step away so she could calm down. I have been nothing but kind to her considering her son has moved away and got married. I understand why she would be sad. But even her husband has said to me she acts like she is dating mine. He was home for 2 weeks for the wedding and she was constantly angry with me because she felt like he was spending all his time with me. I would understand if I truly was taking up all his time. But any time we were alone, I felt guilty because I didn't want to upset his mom. When he had to leave again, we thought he might be deployed in August and I told her about me wanting to take a trip to see him at his duty station before he had to leave. She tried to invite herself along and said we could make it just me and her. I felt so uncomfortable because all I've wanted since him being gone is some quality alone time and she can't give it to us. And I thought it was very invasive to invite herself on my trip to see my husband. My husband is even annoyed by it. He tried talking to her and telling her she needs to let him go, and it's been almost 7 months now and she needs to realize he is grown and needs space. Well, that just made her even more upset and she bursted into tears. I don't know. Every time I'm around her now I feel like I have to compete with her for who loves him most, and I am starting to get jealous of how she acts with him. Every time we've visited or been with him she's kissing him, calling him baby, posting thousands of pictures on Facebook, trying to wrestle with him, trying to cuddle with him. She truly acts like the girlfriend. Can someone tell me if this is normal? To me it's the same as leaving for college. He gets holidays and vacations. He can call whenever. Is it really that hard for a mom to let their kid go? Or is she extra crazy? Relevant comment by Reddit users. There is no need to feel guilty about spending time with your son alone and without his mother. If you need help to keep from feeling that guilt, just remember these things. 1. She starved him, locked the household food up so he couldn't get to it. But she made sure her daughters were fed. 2. She didn't have any use for him until after he enlisted. So why now? Why did that switch get flipped now? 3. She straight up told you she hates you. Why are you going to feel guilty because she boo-hoos when he wants to spend time with you, his wife? No, I'd put her on an info diet from now on. You're going to make a trip up to see him. Why does she need to know? Just go. Only tell her what you and so agree on that she needs to know. Then you silently go low contact. Comment. This is enmeshment to a wild degree. It sounds like you're onto something, and you need to follow your instincts in that this is wildly unhealthy. Your husband needs to draw hard boundaries and you both need to distance yourself from her. If she ever gets to the point where she'll accept help, she needs to see a therapist as well. This will only lead to either her being cut off or you and you're so getting a divorce, as years of this will only continuously strain the relationship. As hard as it might be, your so needs to make it clear that he is starting a new life with you, and that you and your children will come first above anything else. She will probably lose her ever-loving shit when this boundary is drawn, but she needs to recognize that he is not the one that should be fulfilling her emotional needs. That's why women have husbands. Her blurring those lines is what's called emotional incest. Seriously, read up on it. It will give you a ton of insight as to what's really going on in her head. Best of luck. Response by Op. I would also like to add she's getting a tattoo for him. None of her others, 3 kids, just him. Our next Reddit story comes from the subreddit r/2hottakes, where the OP feels his mother-in-law is a monster. I am happily married to the love of my life who happens to be the son of a monster. I wish I was making this up, but she's a full-blown narcissist parent and this has affected me to the point I'm on Prozac and going to couples therapy often. When I met my now husband, I was a single mother working from home and living at my mom's house during pandemic. My boyfriend comes from a wealthy family and I wasn't looking good on paper, so they were mostly assholes towards me and my child. They always complained about my 3-year-old, and mostly ignored her or treat her poorly. In my head I just thought they just didn't like kids, but as time passed by, it looked more and more personal. And I was starting to get annoyed. My boyfriend and I had arguments like every couple at the beginning of our relationship because of jealousy, some exes and stuff, but we worked it out with time. The problem is that his sister asked her husband to get my boyfriend drunk and spill our personal stuff. He then told everything to his wife and she proceeded to use that as an excuse to break us up along with her mother, who is now my mother-in-law. She even went to my mother to ask her to tell me to break up with him, and said that I pulled some witchcraft on him, making it seem that the only way I'm lovable is like that. That woman is a monster, manipulated every bit of the story. Then we decided to step away from her. She became more manic. She started complaining about how little time he spent with her, and that led to him not spending time with her at all. She pushed us away. And that's when his father started forbidding us to go to houses of his and treating us like we're non-existent. While my 4-year-old asked us all the time about them, and wondered why we weren't allowed go there. I tried to apologize and move on, and forget everything they put us through, and texted her to go 1 hour to the ceremony of our wedding. Then she was playing some mind games as if she wanted to manipulate my boyfriend again. We were so fed up, but at this point we only wanted to be together in matrimony just for us two. We even decided to make it as small as possible, because the point was to be married in holy marriage. Then I asked him if she's okay that I say hi to her during the ceremony, and she texted him saying, "Let's just go with the flow, everything is just perfect how it is." That's when I bursted laughing because I know she had some sort of mental illness plotting going on, and I went with the flow. During the ceremony I noticed while I was walking to the altar that they didn't turn around to see me arrive. That's when I realized that I should even be looking at them, so I looked at my handsome boyfriend the whole time while I held tears in my eyes. During the ceremony and the peace offering, the priest told me to go and give the peace to my in-laws. He knows they don't like me, but due to respect I decided to go and try. Zero alternative intentions. That's when I approached her even while she was saying no to me. I told her, "May the peace be with you," and she said no. My boyfriend, now husband, looked at her with disgust and said, "Wow." A lot of people approached me and hugged me and told me they will be there for me and to sweat it. But to be honest, I'm glad that happened. Now I can finally live in peace knowing that I don't have to keep trying to be on her good side, or trying at all. We're way better off without her crazy manipulative self. So cheers to you, Brenda. How does it feel that your son, who didn't believe in marriage or having kids, decided to change his mind and now you won't get to experience any of it? Relevant comment by Reddit users. I can tell you from experience that distance helps. My mom wasn't quite this bad but sorta bad, so. We've always lived 5 hours away from them, by car, and it's been a lot more peaceful than it was for my brothers and sisters that stayed close. I also made clear that we'd make our own damn money and didn't need any of Tier. So we didn't get a lot of the benefits that brothers and sisters got, but today they all leave us the fuck alone. There is little drama, and a ton of respect. Comment. All you need is your husband's support. As long as you have his support, your parents-in-law might as well not exist. It is not your responsibility to make people like you. You are only responsible for doing the right things in life that make you a decent person.